On the train back to New York from DC, I was thinking about how I'd missed the cherry blossoms. It was only the first weekend of April, and yet even the petals were already gone from the ground. Perhaps they're being efficient about these things in DC. I knew it probably meant the blossoms would be picking in New York this weekend, and by the next, I'd have missed those too. I wasn't particularly sad about it. I'd had a lovely trip, my first time in DC. I wandered through wonderful bookstores, stood before breathtaking art at the National Gallery of Art, past those gloriously intimidating government buildings, though it is never really the buildings themselves, only the people inside them. I ate well, had good conversations, loved. I slept well. So often we fixate on what went wrong, even when nothing can be changed. But how often do we stop to notice what went right? I was watching a beautiful sunset from the train window and thinking this small, very ordinary human thought. It's been a week since I came back from DC. I really loved the city. I thought that it's very similar to Moscow in the best way possible. I've had an amazing time browsing local bookstores and going to the National Gallery of Art, and I have some footage to share. However, let me show you first some of the books that I got there. Every time I go use book shopping, I'm always on the lookout for Viragos. I really enjoy this series. Blaming is the last novel by Elizabeth Taylor. It's compassionate and devastating, examines blaming of oneself, of circumstances, of others. When Emmy's husband dies on holiday, she is supported by Martha, a young American novelist whose acquaintance Emmy is ungratefully reluctant to maintain on their return to England. But the skeins of their existence seem inextricably linked as grief gives way to resilience and again to tragedy. I love Elizabeth Taylor. I've read Miss Palfrey at the Claremont, Angel, and A View of the Harbor, and I loved all three, so I'm really excited to read more of her work. This one I picked up because I've learned that there's a list of recommendations by Elena Ferrante. It's 40 books by female authors that she recommends to read, and Irène Némirovsky's La Bal is on that list. Irène Némirovsky is a Russian immigrant who fled Russia after the Soviet Revolution and went with her family to Paris, France, I think. And she sounds like the kind of author that I would really enjoy and would have read a long time ago, but somehow I never have, so I was naturally very curious. I've already read La Bal. I can't say it was anything special, but it was a fun story. And there's another novella in this short little book that I'm going to read soon. Another Virago I picked up is The Quest of Christa T by Christa Wolf. Christa Wolf is an East German writer, and I've read her short stories before, but I've never read her bigger works. Cassandra, her famous novel, is on the Elena Ferrante's list as well. I haven't read it, but I thought that The Quest for Christa T sounds really exciting. It says that Christa is a young girl in Hitler's Germany. She survives to embrace the new order, but her enthusiasm and idealism wither as crass materialists corrode its splendid dreams. Okay. A teacher in a village school, a student at Leipzig University, a wife and a mother, the life of Christa T, here recalled by her friend, is the life of an ordinary, intelligent, sensitive woman. But this famous novel is more than that. Christa's the story of a whole generation and a moving celebration of the unique value of each human being and all human life. I think that I might enjoy it because I really like the juxtaposition of private life and major historical events unraveling. Let's see. And I'm going to cheat and include a book that I didn't find in DC that I ordered online. It's Antonia White's The Sugar House. As you all know, I read Frost in May earlier this year, and then I read its sequel, The Lost Traveler, and there are 2 more books by Antonia White that follow that same girl's story as she grows up and continues to live her life, and it's all autobiographical, basically based on Antonia White's personal experiences, and I just can't wait. I absolutely love to be in Clara's thoughts, and I'm really excited what this one will tell me about. Should I give you a reading update of what I've been reading? I finished listening Curse Days by Ivan Bunin, who I think was the first Russian writer to get Nobel Prize in Literature. Curse Days is not a work of fiction though, it's his diaries written during the days of the Soviet Revolution and the Civil War that followed. I can't say I recommend them. I realize it's a very niche piece of literature that would probably be interesting to people who are interested in Russian history or the history of communism. However, I will say this, I think that sometimes when especially we read historical novels, there's a lot of romantic romanticization of major historical events and how they unravel in day-to-day lives. I think I just talked about it with Christa. However, as someone who has experienced what it feels like when major historical events are happening to you and you can't really do anything about it and you feel all the unfairness and injustice of it, thankfully I was physically safe, and not many people can say that. However, what I'm trying to say is that Bunin captured this feeling of feeling completely alone, feeling like the world has gone completely insane, and whatever's happening is completely breaking the life as it was and the new life you just can't accept or get used to. Now I'm listening to another Russian audiobook. It's Fathers and Sons by Turgenev. I read it in high school and I'm pretty sure that I thought that it was very boring, but I'm really curious to see what I'm going to think now. I will say I'm so grateful for American libraries and the Libby app. I truly am still amazed that I can listen to audiobooks in Russian for free. I've already told you that I read La Balle by Irène Némirovsky, and it's basically about a mean teenage girl and her mean mother. I don't know. That was kind of funny. And I've also read Mieko Kawakami's Sisters in Yellow. I thought that it was okay. I really loved Breast and Eggs, and I kind of loved All the Lovers in the Night, so I was really curious what the new book is about. And while I can't say I loved it, I think that I'm thinking about it a lot after finishing it, which I don't dislike. It follows a Japanese high school girl, Hana, who grows up with a mother who is infantile herself and doesn't pay her daughter much attention. And that's how the daughter basically gets pulled into the world of bars, nightlife, crime. And I just thought that the book has a lot of interesting takes on relationships, money, and trust, which is not common themes I usually read about. So that was kind of curious. I'm realizing that I'm doing a lot of parallel reading in April. I'm usually not like that at all, but I've been reading A Room with a View for a while now. For some reason, it's taken me very long to finish it, despite it's a relatively short book. It reminds me of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, which I didn't necessarily love, so I don't know. I'm really curious why people love A Room with a View so much. I can't say I'm enjoying it for some reason. I'm kind of bummed. But I'm about a half in, maybe things will change. And I think that's all. I'm really excited to show you the atmosphere of DC bookstores and my favorite pieces from the National Gallery of Art.